I hope that you're doing well, that wherever you are thriving, and you're just ready to take on the full burden of life and just ready to step into the person that you're meant to be. But in this conversation today, I'd like us to talk about the concept of chronic unhappiness. Yes, chronic unhappiness. My first encounter with this concept is on Robert Greene's book, The 48 Laws of Power, and it stuck with me that really there are people who are struggling with chronic unhappiness. And I, for one, there was a time where I had to live with a relative, and I struggled there emotionally, which is part of the reasons why today I like to think I'm this mentally strong person, because there's this quote by Seneca where he says that hardship strengthens the mind just as labor does the body, right? So these people exert so much negative influence into the space that they're in. They exert so much toxicity, and we should be able as Black communities to have these conversations to figure out really how do we want to heal, because we don't want to be hovering around with all our traumas, struggling emotionally, but we want to be able to heal and then make peace with whatever situations and be able to just move on in peace in life, to be happy to another extent, right? So I understand that there are those who are, when they are chronically unhappy, they can just be sad, struggle with this sadness without necessarily exerting negative influence upon others. But it's very important for us to have these conversations, really, so that all of us heal, right? So in this video, I'd like us to talk about, to define what chronic unhappiness is, right? And then later on see on the reasons behind chronic unhappiness, and later on also explore the remedies of chronic unhappiness. To see through really how do we heal, how do we learn to be more present with our lives without necessarily living in the past, right? So here it says that chronic unhappiness, it's this sense of unhappiness occurs on a daily basis as a source of default setting. So this is mood depression, right? So essentially chronic unhappiness, it's this struggle emotionally due to traumas, due to quite a lot of struggles, and we should be able to talk about these things to see through how do we heal, how do we then find ourselves after traumas without necessarily blaming on life every time, right? So essentially chronic unhappiness is just this mood depression of staying so much unhappy. It's either due to current circumstances or just the past traumas, right? So what are the reasons, therefore, for chronic unhappiness? So part of the reasons of chronic unhappiness is this genetic inheritance. So Dr. John Medina, in his book, The Brain Rules, he states clearly that other people's genetic complements naturally buffers them against the effects of stress, right? So therefore, it is reasonable for anyone to say that chronic unhappiness could be inherited, right? But on my side, I like to believe that even if you come from a chronically unhappy family, it is possible for you to defeat chronic unhappiness and actually enhance happiness levels, as long as you're intentional about it and you want to work out on your happiness levels. You're just intentional about being happy. You prioritize your happiness. You remove toxic people in your life so that you understand your position as well. Because I don't think there's any one of us who wants to stay miserable, regardless of our circumstances. And there's this post I shared somewhere where it tries to help us understand that many of us live in this illusion of happiness. We live in so much illusion of happiness such that we always lose the present moment. So all of us, at the end of the day, we want to be happy. Even if you come from a chronically unhappy family, it is possible for you to enhance your happiness levels. So part of the reason as well for chronic unhappiness is the struggle or the lack of consumption of the right information, right? So if you struggle to consume the right information, then ultimately in the spiritual realm, you won't be happy. That's it. My favorite quote as well in this aspect is by Marcus Aurelius. He says that your spirit takes on the color of your thoughts. So at the end of the day, I don't think there's any one of us who wants to consume crap, which at the end of the day will leave you miserable. So it's very important for you to control. So the type of information that you consume, it's this controllable variable in your life. It's very important for you to consume the right information, to be able to track whether you consume the right information, so that at the end of the day, you don't struggle spiritually, you don't struggle emotionally. It's very important for you to choose the right information. If you've got toxic friends, then you have to learn to cut those people in your life, because simply you are trying to prioritize your happiness. You want to make sure that you are at peace. If on social media you constantly see posts of whatever that is just crap, be able to remove yourself from such. Whenever, just be intentional about consuming the right information, because if you consume the right information, you let the right people tell you the right things about yourself, then emotionally, spiritually, you will feel better. But spend most of your time with consuming too much crap. Spend most of your time talking or consuming like negative stuff from your friends, then at the end of the day you will be miserable. That's why it's very important for each one of us to learn to be protective of yourself. Don't let someone say anything to you that you understand to another level that it is toxic. Don't let them. Be able to tell that person that you're not supposed to talk to me like that, so that at the end of the day you protect your spirit. So these are some of the things we're able to control, and some of us are not bold enough, are not courageous enough to deal with them. So it's very important on a basic level to be able to check on the kind of information that you consume if you really want to prioritize your happiness at the end of the day. So with Marcus Aurelius, on the text I also quoted here, that your spirit takes on the color of your thoughts. It takes on the color of the thoughts that you entertain in your brain. And guess what? The thoughts you entertain in your brain come from the information that you consume, right? So if you constantly consume negative stuff, at the end of the day, your mind will constantly entertain such thoughts in your brain. And eventually, you won't feel well. You won't do well spiritually. You will struggle emotionally because of the thoughts you've had, right? So the other very important aspect of reasons behind chronic unhappiness, it's the lack of wisdom and understanding. And some of us, it's very sad that we're not ready to just learn. We're not ready to just learn how to engage with life. So if you're not ready to consume and learn wisdom, you will struggle to another level. Sometimes just grab a Bible and just read how to engage better with life. Just make time for you to consume the right information, so that you don't struggle emotionally to another level. Just to learn how to engage better with life, right? So it is important for any one of us if they are really intentional about being happy, to really consume and obtain wisdom to other people, or to a book, to the Bible, just as I've mentioned, so that really you could enhance your happiness levels, in understanding that really your circumstances do not necessitate that you should be miserable. No, whatever you're going through, someone else out here is going through the worst, right? So you don't necessarily have to be miserable because of your circumstances or because of your traumas, by the way, right? So the other struggle which causes chronic unhappiness, it's wrong beliefs. I can't emphasize this one enough. It's very unfortunate that these wrong beliefs, we always want to exert them to other people, that the other people are more inferior than we are, other people are we're more superior than other people, which is just crap. And we should be able as people to understand that just because you're a male person, it doesn't mean that you're more superior to your female counterpart. Just understand that this is life and we need each other at the end of the day, right? Just be able to just be at peace. There's a lot of wrong beliefs, there's a lot of them. And if I were to talk about them, all of them in this video, I won't be able to accomplish what I want to share with you. So we should be able to constantly ask our beliefs. Do I think kannete I'm better than this person? Do I think kannete motho o maswe? No, you can't think those things about someone else, because you don't even know how that person is created. That's God's creation. That's God's reflection. And when you constantly undermine that person for whatever reason. So it's very important for us to be intentional and keep asking whatever belief that you have about whatever. So Lena, at first I was really inspired by this womanism, to be able to promote the rights of women wherever, right? But as I got on older, and after I had my firstborn as well, I realized that this is unreasonable to another extent. How do I promote that women's rights should be acknowledged, as well as they should get fair enough opportunities? But what about my boy child? And then I realized that feminism is the way. Feminism is the way, because feminism emphasizes that both of these genders, they deserve fair and equal opportunities. That's when then it made sense to me, for me to continue to advocate for the rights of both of these genders, because I don't want my boy child in the future to struggle emotionally, to be miserable because now they are rejected by the system. No, I don't want that. So there's a lot of wrong beliefs all of us have, and we should be able to question them sometimes. Do I think moto also umaswe? Do I think I'm more superior than this person? No, we don't have to be struggling with those things. And yonke lendo, it always just comes back to this wisdom. The previous point I talked about, which is wisdom. We need wisdom to be able to exert the right beliefs to the other people, and just affirm them without necessarily degrading them, right? So behavioral choices are very important. They count in enhancing your happiness, because whatever that you did yesterday, if you have guilt, you won't be happy the following day, because you will remain miserable because of the mistakes you did. Just be more intentional going forward about really your behavioral choices, the things you say to other people. Hey, we talk a lot of crap. Hey, so be able to understand that. No, man, you need to understand whatever that it is that you do, there are consequences to it. And the consequences start from your mind as well. Your guilt will tell you that, no, you weren't supposed to say this. You weren't supposed to do this. So if you're really intentional about your happiness, stop blaming your circumstances. Just look into your behavioral choices as well. The things you do, the things you say to other people, how you portray yourself to others, right? Not necessarily with how it's done to you. So just be able to reject whatever that it is, other people's negative beliefs about you. It's very important as well to reject them and understand that you can just define yourself without necessarily so much dependence on what other people say to you, right? So the third aspect of this conversation is really the struggle to defeat chronic unhappiness and therefore enhance happiness levels, right? So, in enhancing happiness levels, it's very important for any one of us, for all of us, to fully consider that number one, savor the moment, embrace the present moment, be present with your life, just fully immerse yourself in the eternity of this moment. Stop worrying about the future. Stop worrying about what happened yesterday. That's how you'll enhance your happiness levels, because now your attention will be fully present with whatever it is that you do now. So it's very important for all of us to understand that really we should be more intentional about our happiness by learning to fully immerse ourselves in the present moment, to embrace the eternity of this moment, because right this year you are this age, right? And there's no way in the future you'll be in the same age anymore, right? So it is reasonable, it does make sense that all of us should fully immerse ourselves in the present moment, so that we could finally attain good higher states of consciousness and just be more present with our lives without necessarily struggling so much, because a lot of us are struggling with a lot of things. We're struggling with a lot of things because we carry so much from the past, even my traumas as well. So we carry so much from the past. We should be able to just fully immerse ourselves in the present moment without necessarily carrying so much burden from the past. So we should understand that there's this quote by Robert Greene. He talks that really the past is a dead corpse, right? So if something happened from the past that it was harsh, it was so it's very destructive for you to continue to remind yourself of that, or to just continue to define yourself with that circumstance. So it is just self-destructive for you to keep defining yourself about the past, right? So just be able really to just fully immerse yourself in the present. And if something in the past, good, whatever it is, just be intentional about just learning from it, and then just let past be past, and that's okay. Just work your way around healing and in learning, just fully immersing yourself in the present moment. And on my side as well, I've tried this and it worked perfectly well. And I think since I've learned to be able to be more present with the present moment, with my present circumstances, I've been able to enhance happiness levels, and I've also been able to dictate how my emotional struggles went by, right? So if I was traumatized by a situation yesterday, I can still decide that now I want to be fully immersed in this present moment, right? I want to fully focus my attention in the people that I have a conversation with for that time, right? So in that manner, you train your mind really to fully immerse itself in the present moment, and you stop worrying about what will happen next. Yes, what happened yesterday traumatized me. What will happen next now? No, your mind just learns to know that really, that wherever you are, you take on that moment with all your heart. You don't even hesitate on in any manner. You're just present with whatever it is that you're doing, right? There is this sense of there is this nature's capability for it to give us this free mind, this mind that is just free of worry if you fully immerse yourself in the present moment. And there's this quote by Dandapani where he talks about that really, if you let your awareness to be fully present in the conscious mind, so if you let your conscious mind be present with whatever it is that you do now, that's how then you eliminate your struggles emotionally, because trauma, the struggles only start when you allow yourself when you allow your conscious mind to go away from the present moment. This does make sense that really we should learn to just fully immerse ourselves in the present moment so that we eliminate all these traumas, all these burdens that we keep carrying, right? So because you'll realize the present moment is so perfect. I'm having this conversation with you. I'm having this conversation with whoever, right? But if I'm not present here in this conversation with you and I keep thinking about my traumas, then there'll be a lot of confusion in my mind. So we should be able to understand that really fully immersing yourself in the present moment does work. It gives you so much peace. Even myself, I don't really like my job, but when I get to that space and I tell myself that I want to fully focus my attention on whatever it is that I have to do, right? But at the end of the day, you realize that by just focusing my awareness on whatever it is that I'm doing, you realize that I realize that at the end of the day, I find myself enjoying that I'm doing whatever that I'm doing, right? So it's very important for us to learn to straighten our awareness, to straighten our attention, to straighten our focus on whatever it is that you're doing. Just as I'm talking to you now, be present in this conversation. Look at me. Don't look at whatever. Just look at me and just fully try and understand whatever it is that I'm talking to you. Stop thinking about yesterday. Stop thinking about the future as well. There's a lot of us who are just so dreadful of the future, and we live on this illusion of happiness for the future. And I struggle to understand why, but it is nature that the only time where we could experience happiness, we could only have it in this illusion of happiness. When I have a car, when I have this big house, that's when I will be happy. But really, it doesn't work like that. That quote I sent somewhere, it also talks that really if you have this illusion of happiness for the future, it means that happiness will never be where you are. And I don't think there's any one of us who wants to stay miserable. I don't want to spend my 20s, my 30s, my 40s miserable. I want to be able to be happy. I want to be able to be fully myself at any given circumstances. And all of us have to get to that point where we're just intentional about prioritizing our happiness. So if you're able to live in the present moment, that's exactly what you do. In whatever circumstances, beautiful moments, you don't miss them. You don't miss moments with your kids. You don't miss anything because you're just present. The good things happen to your life. You're present. You're not even anxious, worried. Hey, now there's something bad that should happen to complement this one because I'm doing well. No. You're just present with every circumstances, even in your traumas. You don't wish that I wish things could be good. No, you just fully immerse yourself in that moment. That this is painful and it's okay, but I want to sit by it and just be brave in whatever circumstance that I'm going through. You don't struggle with this illusion of happiness. So all of us should just learn to fully immerse ourselves in the present moment, so that we could be able to just fully be at peace with ourselves and just to be able to embrace the imperfect as well in the present moment, right? So when it comes to this living in the present moment, there is a very important aspect that comes with wisdom, and all of us should be able to understand that yes, you want to be present with your kids, you want to be able to laugh, you want to be able to just be happy with them, right? But at the end of the day, there is the future. At the same time, you want to be able to secure their future to another extent. You want to make sure that in the future they have some form of inheritance from your side, right? So that they could start on with their life as well, right? So there is wisdom. My favorite quote is by Jordan Peterson, where he talks about really that attend fully to the future in that manner while attending fully to the present. Therefore, you stand a good chance of perfecting both. That just simplifies what I want to say to you now. So be able to understand that you still need to anticipate the future in your ability as well to fully focus in the present. You want to be able to laugh with your kids. You want to be happy with them. But at the end of the day, you want to understand that in the future, they have to go to university. They have to start businesses. So when you were busy buying your kids Nike and these expensive things that you don't even afford, and yet your kids, you don't have any form of investment for your kids. So you should be able to understand that you want to be present with your kids. You want to spend more time with them. You want to enjoy their company while they grow up. But still, you want to take out investment policies for your kids. You want to buy them properties while they are young, right? So you think way far ahead while you are just present in the moment. And that's just wisdom. It's just really the ability to just live in peace and understanding that many other things aren't really on your control, but some of the other aspects of causes of misery, you can just control them and just be at peace and just let life be and just be fully yourself while just embracing just the beauty of life itself without struggling so much, worrying about unnecessary things. And a lot of black communities as well, our parents don't save for the future. And I struggle to understand why do we have that. Because at the end of the day, most of the time we want to keep blaming these authorities that the ANC doesn't do this, that the ANC doesn't do this. And yet we fail simple things. Yes, they do give us employment, right? But sesihluleka ke ngoku nokuthatha ama-investment policies for like 300 rand for our kids, so that in the future they could be able to then be able to thrive. Maybe 20 years from now, the government might not necessarily have to sponsor my child's education, because at least I tried to understand. And it is unreasonable for anyone to expect someone who's completely unemployed to be able to contribute for the future, right? Because you survive on this 500 rand. This 500 rand is a social grant. So how do you expect someone to save from that? Yes, I earn less than 10k. I am poor. That's a fact, right? But I do afford a 500 rand on a monthly basis to save for my child for the future, right? So these are the things we should consider them, so that at least we eliminate this burden we have as black communities to the government. We shouldn't have this so much dependence on demanding so much from the government. We should understand that we should take authority over our lives and just be more intentional about fully being ourselves and just owning assets as well, right? So in this conversation, I'd like us to just, in enhancing your happiness levels, I want us to just have this point of just savor the moment. And that's a fact. Just embrace yourself in the present moment. So with that point, with the other aspects of just enhancing your happiness levels, I'll talk about them in other videos, and that's okay. It is very important for each one of us to understand that we should be more intentional about being happy. We should understand that time does fly, and it does make sense, therefore, for us to be fully present and just be ready to just experience happiness in the present moment. And with your kids, your kid now is 2 years old, and they won't be 2 years old any longer. So to understand that you can spend most of your time with them, to just embrace the present moment while thinking about the future as well, right? So the other very important aspect I want to talk about is this ability to preserve your happiness in traumatic situations. Yeah? I want us to have this conversation because I understand that most of us are in different, all of us, by the way, are in different circumstances. So how do you preserve your happiness in traumatic situations? My favorite response I want to share with you today is there's this book by Jordan Peterson. So he talks that really, when you are in a traumatic situation, the passing of a loved one or whatever happens, right? In a divorce, whatever, right? The most important thing is to make time when to think about the trauma that you have. Make time to think how you want to solve the problem, right? Yes, there are problems who are just beyond your control. That's where wisdom comes, and we should be able to understand that this one is beyond my control. So, but most importantly, make time to think about the trauma that you're going through. Make time to think about it. Plan, this is an hour. I want to talk about this. I want to think about this by yourself, right? If you are married with your wife or whatever, your woman, right? But be able to make time when to talk about that. You talk about it. If you'll be able to solve it, you try and plan what to do, right? But if you can't, and that's okay, there's a lot of other things which are just beyond our control, and we can just let time be and just let God take through such things. But it's very important for you to learn to just make time to think about whatever gives you struggle, so that when you are at work, you can be fully present with your work. When you're having a conversation with your kids, you're having a conversation with your kids. So you don't then at the end of the day drain yourself with these traumas moving around, but you can just learn when to think about them. So you don't move around thinking about everything, your struggles, right? You don't move around talking about them or just thinking about them. You plan when to think about those things, so that you understand your way forward, and that you learn to be more present with the things that you're supposed to do. To Jordan Peterson, when you climb the bed, you understand that it's your time to sleep. You now straighten your awareness in trying to sleep, right? So in some of the things, you'll realize that we don't even need therapy, right? We don't need a lot of these things. We don't even need medication, right? These are just basic necessities of engaging better with life, and we should be ready as well to understand that there is a way for us to attain happiness levels. Happiness levels aren't necessarily for the rich, if the rich are happy, right? But all of us could be able to attain happiness levels, and just be ready to be fully ourselves, to be fully authentic to who we are, in embracing happiness, because this is a gift from God, right? One of my favorite aspects is this saying that God is love. So really, God is love. He is love himself. So happiness and all these other beautiful states, they come from God himself, and we should be able to embrace them, right? And the other one is that we should be at peace with who we are, in understanding that really your position in life is to just be. It is to just be fully yourself, right? You don't necessarily need to have kelello ya motho so that you could be happy, or you want whoever, or you think that they're happy. No, just be able to fully focus on yourself. You are now unhappy, you are now miserable because you are busy looking at other people's lives. There's no point where you want to see where you want to start working out on things. So it's very important for each one of us to be more intentional about being happy. Fully focus on your life. See beauty in your life. Just find gratitude in a lot of simple things, so that you could finally attain happiness levels, right? Yes, there are a lot of us who are privileged enough to come from chronically happy families, right? But it's very important for all of us to understand that happiness is your right and misery is a choice. And I don't think there's anyone really who wants to stay miserable, right? So in concluding this conversation, I want to salute one person who has been such a catalyst in my life about happiness and just fully being myself. I want to salute my mother. That woman has been through a lot of traumas. Her 20s were completely different from mine. She struggled a lot emotionally. But I always watch how much of a happy and a content type of person she is. These are the people who teach us a lot, really, and yet they didn't even go to school, and yet they seem to understand the psychology of things. That really you are not the product of your circumstances. Your circumstances do not define you. So your perception of life really is the determining factor as to whether you will be happy or miserable. So it's not necessarily the circumstances, right? So we can only attain happiness in life as long as we're more intentional about it, as long as we're more willing, we're just genuinely commit to really being happy in our lives. So therefore, I thank you so much for joining me in this beautiful conversation, and I hope that going forward as well, you want to prioritize your happiness levels. You want to be more intentional with who you are. You want to be more intentional about life itself, and just let yourself be. Stop demanding, stop expecting or just consuming so much negativity that'll ultimately leave you miserable at the end of the day. Be able to understand that you can always just program your life the way you want it, right? So be curious about the programming that makes you see life the way you see it. Just fully focus on your lane, right? Even myself, where I live, I don't have TV, and yet the average person owns a TV. Do you understand? So it's a choice how you want to live your life. So really, there's no right or wrong rule when it comes to life. But at the end of the day, all of us should be more intentional about being happy, because happiness, it's just a gift from God, and that's where all of us should be. If it went for Adam and Eve to have eaten in that tree of Eden, all of us should be we would be very happy people. There wouldn't be misery. There wouldn't be misery at a certain to another level, right? So I want you to understand that your normal state in life is to be happy. So don't allow yourself to go to misery in any one way or another. Just never allow yourself. Be more intentional about being happy, and in understanding that whatever position you are in, you don't necessarily be to another position for you to be happy. Happiness is your right, and misery is a choice. I thank you so much for joining me in this beautiful conversation. Have a wonderful and a productive week ahead. I thank you so much.